Welcome, everybody. Midlife Vices, episode 9. Midlife Vices goes international. As you know, we are all about diversity here. So like Pitbull, we are going international. Let me introduce you from Gathering of the Geeks. They gather on Sundays. Elves, Hobbits, and Potatoes, interview with the geeks. The Coach Beard to my Nate the Great, our friend from the north. It's Emmett the Bald. Welcome, Emmett, to the show.
Thank you very much for that very luxurious and international intro. I'm very excited to be talking to you guys. Thanks so much for having me on.
Of course.
Great to have you.
And of course, you all know Jim. Thanks.
Good evening.
What's up, Jim? What's going on?
Afternoon. Please drop at noon.
These drop at noon. They do. So tonight, our main topic is our list is going to be our top 10 deaths or death scenes, stuff related to deaths in TVs, movies, etc. We'll get to that. But first, we're just going to start off and talk about what we've been up to this week. So, Emmett, as our guest, what have you been watching or reading or doing this week?
Well, it's interesting because it's actually like downtime now. You know, House of the Dragon's over. Yeah. Rings of Power is also over. So it's like you can take a little bit of a breather sometimes. Right. Still very much watching Interview with a Vampire, but me and my daughter watched, and we finished just yesterday, was The Midnight Club on Netflix. Written and co-created by Mike Flanagan, who did Midnight Mass and Haunting of Hill House and directed the Dr. Sleep movie. So we watched that, which was a lot of fun. As for comics have been really weird lately with me. It's like because there's been so much to watch, I haven't had a lot of time to read. And maybe that'll change now, like I said, with a couple things being over, but I don't even, if you like you did ask me, but I have no idea if I read anything this week or if I don't even recall if I did or not. I can't remember. I've already read some stuff for next week, which Jimmy will be happy about. The new issue of Little Monsters, number 7, is out next week, from Jeff Lemire. So, but yeah, reading's tough right now. So hopefully I'll be able to get back into that soon.
Do you read your review previews? Is that what you read, or do you actually have a pull list? Or
Yeah. So stuff that, well, other than like if I'm not you mean if I am reviewing it or if I'm not reviewing it, if I read it?
Either or. I mean, do you pull books every month?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So my comic shop, I do it online mostly, and I'll get my stuff shipped to me. But yeah, I have stuff that I read other than stuff that I review or get early access to. 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Now, so if you really like something you review, do you buy it physical?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's sometimes. So one of the recent reviews that I did for the Geeks Worldwide is who I write reviews for online at the GWW. There was the latest issue the first issue of Vanish from Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, which is a very good issue. But you know, much like you who are doing, Jim, like single floppies, you know, single issues are hard to keep up with price wise. And you know, just keeping up with the amount of comics that you get every week. So I didn't buy that one single issue or physical. So I will probably buy that as a collected.
It's funny you mentioned that one. I bought that one just for spec, just in case it blows.
Oh yeah,
you know,
well, it might. It was very good. So
yeah, I didn't know you did professional or official reviews for books. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like the Ryan Seacrest of YouTube shows and comic stuff, because you got like 4, 5, 6 different things going on. You just host everything.
That's really impressive. I don't even know how you find the time.
Well, that's the thing. Finding the time is hard. Like I said, when we were doing the reviews, Chris and I, for Gathering of the Geeks, were doing the Rings of Power one. We watched, the show comes out on Fridays, and then we would record on Mondays, and then we'd have a day off. And then we would record for Interview with the Geeks, which I also had to try and find time to watch because that episode came out on Sundays. So like for 4 or 5 days, it's just you either watching something or talking about the thing you're watching. Right. And then also having a family at the same time and a job. So it's very tough. So I'm glad that I'm not glad that they're over, but I'm glad that they're over, so I can have a little bit of downtime now.
Yeah.
So so I have like the lightest work schedule. You know, I work 20 hours a week. I'm very
nice.
lucky with my life in general.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't find the time. I still got power to watch.
You're right.
So I'm very impressed with people that are this dedicated to, well, not just watching stuff, but talking about it, you know.
Well, and it can be a drain too. Like it can make things not as enjoyable if you feel like you have to do it.
Like it's work.
You know, and yeah, exactly. And it can be like that sometimes. We're doing, you know, Chris and I do our shows on Sundays. That was the other thing I forgot to mention. It's like just doing that show, and that's kind of a scheduled thing. But then if you got other stuff on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it doesn't feel as fun anymore. So you do have to really plan out how much you do, for sure.
Yeah.
I have another question for you, more personal side. How old is your daughter?
She just turned 13 in October.
Okay. Have you guys talk about what we watched and stuff like that? Have you checked out the Hot Shots on Disney Plus with John Stamos?
No.
It's a basketball show. He was a college coach. Anyway, I really enjoyed that first season. I recommend that if you get a chance. If she likes sports or
she doesn't, but it's hard to find things to get her to watch. Like, you know, I always have a hard time with my son saying, "Oh, watch something that I watched when I was a kid." They don't find that stuff. It's like they don't find it the same enjoyable as I did when I was a kid. And like she watches a lot of horror stuff. Like I said, we just watched The Midnight Club. But the stuff that she finds scary isn't the stuff that I find scary or gross, like the gore porn or porn gore or however you say it. Like she's into that stuff, the blood and the guts, and I'm more into the psychological stuff. So it's tough trying to find stuff that you can bond with your kids. So like you saying that, Jim, like I would mention that to her and she'd give me a weird look, like, "Oh, are you stupid?" You know, it's like, you know, it's just weird. It's hard to do. It's hard. It's hard to, and I've been asking this question ever since I had my son, who's just turned 7 in July. You know, what is going to be the thing that we can bond over? You know, what's that one thing that, you know, that I can share with my son that I love so much? It's a hard thing to do. And with older kids, they're even more defiant about it because they want to do their own thing and stay as far away from what their parents enjoy. So right. It's a tricky thing.
That's actually what got me into comics was when I found out I was having, me and my wife were having our first son, was I wanted him to read something. So I was hoping to find something for us to read together and him to enjoy. Now, 90% of what I own, I will not let him read. It's funny how that works, you know. So.
Well, really, Jim, that was a smart way to do it, though, because if you're into comics before you have kids, you might never have kids.
Yeah. Well said.
Cool. So what about you, Jim? What have you been watching? I know you mentioned that your son picked a show for you earlier today, and you sounded like you were enjoying it while you were watching it.
Earlier today?
How to Train a Dragon?
Oh, yes, we did watch How to Train a Dragon. Yeah, well, they watched that. You know, my boys woke up super early. So they woke up at 5:15 this morning. And so, yeah, we were on the couch watching that. Cool. I did start watching Modern Family.
Yeah.
I had never seen that before. And I really got a kick out of the first 4 episodes of that. Read some TMNT, about 6 issues the last 2 days. Yeah. So that's a great story. I know you're afraid to jump into that because of how far behind you are. And then I'll tell you what. I've been reading it for over a year, and I'm only into issue 50 of the main storyline. Now it has everything, you know, all the annual and stuff like that. It's a fantastic story. I don't think I've read a better run than this.
No, it's good. It's really good.
Is that the first issue, like first ever issue? Like it starts from there and goes till when?
No, it's the IDW issue.
IDW, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I've never read anything from Mirage, or I've never watched all the cartoons. You know,
from what I understand, the IDW is pretty much it kind of mashes up all the other.
Yeah, but I mean, they add some characters from what I hear. I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No,
but it's fantastic. I really enjoy that comic run.
Yeah. Modern Family is a great show too. Great show. I'm surprised that's one.
I laughed really hard. What's his name? O'Neill, Al Bundy. He seems to be typecast as that non-caring dad.
Right.
You know, it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah. And I watched Power of the Doctor last night. I don't know if you're a Doctor Who fan at all, Emmett.
That's another one. Hard to get into. I don't know where to start.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Dan Slott actually posted something online today about if you're looking where to start. He recommended a couple episodes, and I kind of agree with him. But it was
that's the only what I'd recommend.
Yeah. And then what else have I watched? I watched Ghost. Ghost this season is killing it. I'm liking season 2 better than season 1, and I loved season 1.
Yeah, we haven't watched the last episode, but you're right. Season 2's been fantastic.
Yeah, it's really funny.
That's a TV show based on the movie Ghost?
No. It's actually it's a TV show. It's based on a British show, the same name. So
a woman sees dead people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of based on a movie, but it's comedy.
Got it.
It's really funny. And then I read a few issues of Daredevil by Zdarsky and Dark Crisis. So I'm pretty much all caught up on those, and I'm liking where those are going.
That's the new Daredevil or the relaunch of Daredevil?
Yeah, the relaunch. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And seeing where that's
new number 1.
Yeah.
Which that drives me crazy. How are they going to do the deluxe hardcovers or the hardcovers? Because that's how I read them.
Yeah, Marvel's so confusing with their legacy numbers and then their number ones, and I can't keep up.
I think the only reason
go into it
because it's still the same Zdarsky story.
Right.
I think they just wanted to renumber after Devil's Reign, thinking that it would bring in new viewers because Devil's Reign kind of broke it up there for a little while and kind of changed things a little bit and brought, Matt back to doing what he was doing. So, but yeah, it wasn't necessary. It really wasn't.
They did the same thing to the Nick Spencer's Ant-Man run. He went 5 issues, stopped. Hey, let's start over with number 1. Continue the story. It's ridiculous.
All right. So we know, Emmett, that you do Gathering of the Geeks every Sunday with Chris Evans. And he kind of told us how you guys got into that, breaking off from that other show. And that's kind of your baby right there. That's kind of your main one, right? Everything else is pretty much spinning off of that. So
yeah, for sure. Like, and when we were at Let's Go, Chris, both and Let's Go was only provided with so much review content, and I wanted to do more. So then I was asked to join the GWW, and they had different material, different books, different TV shows that I hadn't had access to. So I was doing that at the same time as I was doing Let's Go. But then when Chris and I left Let's Go, we were kind of stale for a little while, and Chris and I formed I guess a pretty close bond, close enough as you can be from a guy from Texas and a guy from small town Canada. But we're having a great time with it so far. And it's coming up in January. We'll be doing it for a whole year.
Nice. It's a really fun show.
It is a fun show.
Thank you.
Good.
I wish I was able to catch it live, but
great
Sunday nights is kind of our Walking Dead night right now. So maybe once Walking Dead finally ends, I'll be able to be in the live chat. But
yeah, that'd be great.
It's a lot of fun. You guys do a great job. And you guys, like I told Chris, you guys do such, stuff that people shouldn't know.
It's unreal.
Like you came in here when you first started tonight, you mentioned a couple shows and you mentioned who the director was and who who it was by and all that. Is that stuff you study? Is that stuff you just pick up? Is it?
When I was a younger man, I'm not that old now, but I was like that. This was my life. Movies, TV shows, that's all I cared about. That and women, obviously. But I was so much more invested in that stuff even than I am now. So I feel like my back knowledge of things it fills in what I know now. My memory is actually quite horrible, specifically if you ask my wife. But I like to think that I know a little bit about a lot of things.
Right. Cool. Yeah, I know how that goes. I know a little bit about a little bit, pretty
Yeah.
much.
I feel like my TV and movie knowledge has like a date. Like
Yeah.
at 27 is when I stopped paying attention to
Mhm.
who directed what.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
probably
stopped.
did.
Yeah, I stopped caring about who directed what. Like I stopped. I used to be like really into award season and really into the behind the scenes stuff, and I'm still am into the behind the scenes stuff just because I like to talk to people about it. But who does something when they do it, that does stuff doesn't doesn't really get me excited anymore. I just want to be entertained by
Yeah.
anything, and if anybody's doing it, I don't care as long as I'm entertained by the product at the end of the day.
Right.
That's the best thing.
Yeah. I think I paid attention probably until about the mid '90s. I think is where my knowledge of directors and stuff ends. Mm-hmm. But back then there weren't as many either. I mean, you had 4 or 5 big names, and they were doing all the movies. So
I remember when I used to judge movies by if Stallone or Schwarzenegger was in them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like I am. If I look at my DVD case to my left here, I have like a whole bunch of Spielberg films, a whole bunch of Joel and Ethan Coen films. It's like that. It felt, purposeful to me to be invested in those directors. Now if I don't watch a Spielberg movie, that's fine. I'll get over it. Or same with Joel and Ethan Coen, or one of them just did the Macbeth with Denzel Washington a little while ago, the black and white one. And like I didn't see it, I won't see it, I don't care about it. It's just like I don't need things as much as I needed things when I was a younger man.
Right there with you.
I got my kids saying I need, so I want. So I don't have any time for that anymore.
I know, and that's where all the money goes.
Exactly. Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to.
So what are your thoughts on the DC news this week?
A lot of it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It felt like they did like a timed release of things. They had the Black Adam thing, and then they had the Henry Cavill thing, and then they had the James Gunn and Peter Safran thing, and then they talked about the Arkham Asylum thing, and then they talked about Green Lantern. It felt like every day of the week there was just something. Good news, I guess. Again, but like I said, if I don't care who's making the movies and how they're making them, if they make good movies that I like the director of Black Adam, I can't pronounce the gentleman's name. I don't know what other movies he's directed. It doesn't matter to me. I just want good stuff. So, and I hope this leads to more good stuff. That's basically what my hopefulness level is. I hope that with a plan, there will be something good.
I think that's my main excitement too. I don't care that it's James Gunn. I just think it looks like they have a plan now, something they didn't have before, and that's what excites me about it.
See, I'm the opposite. I don't even care if they have a plan as long as the stuff is good.
Yeah,
right, but it's more likely to be good if they have a plan. I mean, that's I think. I don't know. I mean, they were just running around trying to play catch up, trying to throw this in there, and just no real direction at all. But I mean, they might all suck. Who knows?
So I have no idea this Green Lantern news that you talked about. So I'm hoping it's in our news segment.
It's not. No. Go ahead and tell us, Emmett.
So before they were making a Green Lantern show that dealt with Alan Scott and Guy Gardner, and was going to have more of the Green Lanterns in it. It was supposed to be, they titled or announced that it was like going to be the biggest superhero show of all time. And then they cast some people, and then it just kept getting pushed off. So then they announced, I forget what day it was, maybe Tuesday, that they're scrapping that idea and they're going to focus more on Jon Stewart, just a single Green Lantern, and just make a Jon Stewart TV show.
That's good news.
Have you read any Green Lantern?
No, and and that's another thing. Like when I was really getting into hard collecting comics, I felt like I needed to know. I need to know who these characters are, and I need to read the best runs. And I'm glad that I didn't, submit to my own thoughts. But because like the Jeff Johns is seemingly wrote all of the best runs for a lot of characters: Aquaman, The Flash, Green Lantern, all that kind of stuff. So I haven't read any of that stuff. I don't know very much about the character. I haven't watched much of. I think there was. I can't remember if there was a Green Lantern TV show. Maybe it was just Justice League Unlimited, where there was a Green Lantern in. I don't really know. I only know him from, offhand remarks that I hear other people talking about and small knowledge about, some of the Green Lanterns. Like, I don't know what the squirrel's name is, or, the other big guy that looks like a big gorilla. I have no idea. Jessica Cruz, I guess, is a new one. I don't know.
I was telling Steve earlier that I would like to read the Green Lantern. I have no idea where to start. Not a clue. I need someone to literally hand me a book and say, read this.
Yeah.
So, I would start a few.
Yeah. I would think the Jeff Johns run is the one to go with. The Brightest Day, or Brightest Day, Blackest Night, or whatever it is.
Yeah, everybody I've talked to says Blackest Night is. I think the first half of it was Brightest Day, and then it was Blackest Night after that. And I think that's pretty much widely considered within the last 20 years anyway the best Green Lantern story.
Yeah. Then as soon as I hit confirm purchase on Amazon, it would be the wrong book.
Yeah, that's right.
Just the way it works.
Yeah, I like Green Lantern in the cartoons, but I've tried picking up a few books, and I've read maybe 2 or 3 issues each time they re-release it, and I just can't get myself to stick with it.
It's too cosmic for me. And
it is.
It seems that way. I have trouble with Miss Marvel. I have trouble with cosmic stuff.
Yeah. But no, that's good. Yeah, there's a lot of DC news, and really the only Marvel news is Kevin Feige saying that he supports DC.
James Gunn.
Go watch anything that James Gunn makes.
I support James Gunn.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you guys see the Ant-Man trailer? Ant-Man 3 trailer?
I have seen it.
Yes. Looks good. I'm excited to see how powerful they make Kang. But I think I'm most excited for Fantastic Four coming up from Marvel. That's what I'm
excited for Stinger out of Ant-Man.
Who?
Casey, his daughter, is Stinger.
Oh, okay. Another character I have no idea about.
Yeah, well, I like that.
Yeah, so I know my comic book started in 2015, Emmett, and it started with Secret Wars. So, leading up to the Secret Wars that's coming out, the movies, I'm extremely excited about where it's going. So, getting all the relevant characters into it with Fantastic Four and all that is pretty big stuff for me. Unfortunately, when I started in 2015, I was one of those guys that didn't know what I was doing. So Secret Wars came out with a bunch of side books and a ton of variants, and I had to have them all.
Oh,
I need every one.
I'm still one of those guys that don't know what he's doing.
So Secret Wars was 8 books long, or 9 books with the issue 0. And then the side books were like 3 to 4, and I have a whole long box full of Secret Wars 2015 books. It's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
It's all part of the journey, not knowing exactly what you're doing.
For sure. For sure. So, all right. Well, that is going to take us up to our first segment here.
Oh, yes. Wow.
You show me yours, and I'll show you mine.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you got for us?
Who?
Either one of you. It doesn't matter. If Emmett's got something to show us, if he doesn't,
I didn't come prepared.
That's all right. What's that on the shelf right there? Is that a figure on the shelf on your top shelf?
You got good stuff. I'm checking out your drawer.
Oh, yeah. Over here?
Yeah.
My wife just made a crocheted link.
Show that.
Legend of
That
Zelda.
is awesome.
Yeah, show that.
Yeah.
I showed Gimli on, I think it was the other guy beside Batman's Gimli from Lord of the Rings. I showed him on Sunday's show. So here's Link. She just crocheted him.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Master sword and master shield. So yeah.
My wife just crocheted a sweater. She couldn't do that?
Yeah. No.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I got my nerd room upstairs has a whole bunch of candy jars just painted a superhero that my mom made. So
nice.
Yeah, homemade stuff is cool.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right, Jim, what do you got for us?
Okay, so I didn't even show these on Twitter because I wanted to show Emmett on here. It's just my love for Lemire covers.
Yes.
So I got 3 more in.
Oh.
Got Citizen Jack.
Yeah, you mentioned you were getting that one, I think, to me once.
Oh,
Yeah.
See, I cannot keep a secret. Not do it. Let's see. I got a Wild's End.
What is that?
I don't know. I've never heard of any of these books. Honestly. I just know who did the covers.
Okay, that's fair.
I won't ever read them.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You're sick, Jim. You're sick.
And then I got Breathers.
Oh yeah, you did send me that one. I was interested in reading that.
Yeah,
it sounds like a cool idea for that book, actually.
I might read it.
Yeah.
Is that just a Lemire cover, or is that his story too?
No, it's not. None of these were his story.
Okay.
Yeah.
All these were just his covers. And honestly, that's kind of what I'm going after with Lemire. It's just, I mean, I want his stories. Don't get me wrong, but I want his which there's a crap ton of covers. If you buy all 40 Sweet Tooths,
Right.
Oh God.
So anyway, from what Jim was telling me, that's kind of how you guys got talking back and forth, was because
yeah,
I don't even know how
exactly.
it started.
I don't know how it started either. I think maybe just on a Sunday show you had heard me talking about Lemire at one point, or I don't know. Jim does it much more than me. I bet you he has more Lemire books than I do, just because of the covers alone. That's even beyond what I would do with Lemire covers, because I don't know, I think he's a fan of Lemire's art. I'm not like the biggest fan of
See, it's funny.
he draws. I get it for the story wise, but it's not my favorite kind of style. So
I'm right there with you. Honestly, I was the first book I read of his. I think the first thing I read was Family Tree, but then when I was reading a book he drew and wrote, his art hit me a lot more. The inside, I'm not the biggest. He's not the greatest artist in the world. He's a cartoonist. That's what he is. But man, do I love his covers for some reason. I don't know what it is. And when he writes and draws it, it seems to mean more. It seems to be a deeper story. So that's what I did. I was telling Steve. So I was looking for some hardcover. I set something up here for each guest. Something that relates somehow.
Thank you.
And so I was looking for Gideon Falls. I could not find my hardcover Gideon Falls. I spent an hour and a half looking for that book. I'm not even joking. I tore my house apart. My wife hid it underneath my shirts in the closet on the floor. It was just in a weird place. And I finally found it. And oh man, I was relieved. So
yeah, I agree with you about the personal nature of his stories. It does seem like the ones that he draws are the ones he's most invested in, and the ones that are most personal to him.
Yeah,
as well.
I'm really looking forward to Royal City 2.
Yeah. Did you read the little teaser that was in?
I bought
Images releasing those single issues. Did you read that?
Yeah, the Image something 3. I bought a $7 book for 14 pages. Yeah, I read it.
I love it.
Yeah, and pretty much all it tells you is those 7 or 8 pages, whatever it is. It just confirms what the title of the next arc is going to be.
I think 6 of the pages are just of skyline and a radio tower. So
that was on the cover. I'd have to buy all those too.
Yeah.
So what exactly was it that got you into comics? What was your first go around with comics?
Collecting comics was the New 52 from DC. I had graphic novels, collected issues before that, like Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, that kind of thing. But like actually buying comics, I remember buying the Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo collected issues of the New 52 Batman.
Sure.
And then when I was collecting we have just like an online bookstore. It's called Indigo up here, and that's how I would buy comics. I barely knew that local comic book stores existed, and that you could go to them and buy single issues. And then it really wasn't until I got more online, probably maybe two years before the pandemic really started, about actually collecting comics and getting into more stuff that wasn't Cape stuff, because that's really what I was into. Cape stuff right off the bat, just into Batman. And as time has progressed over those however many years, it's basically the opposite of that. I like the Cape stuff, I like the Batman stuff, but I could live on just indie comics, on just personal personal stories, and that's probably why I love Lemire so much, because he does the Cape stuff, but which is also very good. But it's the stuff about a family in a small town in Canada, which also is really nice. Hearing and reading about Canada and his stories. But that was my first real introduction to buying my own comics and collecting my own comics, was the New 52 for DC.
Nice.
Yeah, I was kind of the opposite. I mean, I started with the Capes as well, and then I got into the indies, kind of started transitioning over, and then realized that I prefer the Capes a lot. And I'm almost completely away from indies now. I mean, there was a lot of stories I liked, but they just didn't hit me the same way. I mean, I'm a superhero guy. As Jim knows, I like a clear black and white hero villain type thing, and you don't get that a lot with the indies. There's always a lot of gray areas. I'm not an anti-hero guy. I just give me the good guy beating the bad guy, and that's where I'm at. So. Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia, I got it. First 15 issues or so I really liked, but it just they would start coming, and I didn't feel the need to keep going on them. And I found that a lot with a lot of the indie books. Other than probably, I think my favorite indie book is probably Huck.
Was
Mark
what?
Millar. I don't know if you Huck.
Oh,
By Mark Millar. I don't know if you ever read that one. I highly. It's 4 issues. It was from Image. But other than that. Yeah, I've got a bunch that I need to sell. Anybody watching the show that wants to buy some indie comics, hit me up in DMs.
Cheap, because you can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what though? I've tried. I've got about 3,300 comics, and I've been thinking about cutting back on my collection quite a bit. And every time I go to put some on YouTube, I'm like, man, I can't put that. I can't sell that. I can't sell that. The only thing I get rid of is stuff I give away to Jim that he already has. So,
do you have any valuable comics, Steve? Anything worth some good money?
Yeah, I've got a few. I've got I've sold quite a few of them to kind of fund my other stuff. I think the most valuable one I sold, I looked into buying Something's Killing the Children when it first came out.
Ooh, yeah.
And I had issue number 1. And I actually read it, and I didn't continue on with it, but I got it graded, and it came back at 9.8. So I had no other books, so I sold that when it was at its peak, and that was about $1,400.
Nice.
And that funded me for quite a while worth of stuff. But I think my favorites now. I've got
When he says quite a while, he means his Spawn addiction.
Okay.
my 5-month Spawn addiction, where I bought everything possible.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
So when he mentioned that he sends me stuff, he would mail me comics before asking me if I had them. So he would send me duplicates quite a bit, and I'll just give them to my kids, and
yeah, sure.
My kids love Steve.
Yeah, right. All right, what do I have here? Because of the Henry Cavill news today, I've got a little statue here. Let me bring this up. So this is my Man of Steel Zod. Let me turn it around.
Sweet.
Zod and Superman statue. Pretty cool.
That's a much better view.
Yeah. I got this a few years back. Still got it, hanging on to it. So looking forward actually to the next Man of Steel movie quite a bit.
I like the actionness of that piece. Like it's not just people standing, and it's two
he's
people
swinging that
in one.
beam
I like
at him.
that. Yeah, I like that.
It was funny. I did not recognize Zod at all until you turned it the other direction.
Well, it's because it was the back of his head. You know that Friends episode when Ross is out on the patio and Joey thinks that he can tell he's smiling or not by looking at the back of his head? That's kind of what you were looking at there with Zod.
I don't remember that episode, but
no, that's when Emily calls him and tells him he's got to quit seeing Rachel altogether.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, she won't move back.
We're losing Emmett. He's not the Friends guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if Chris was on right now, he'd be laughing along with you. I've never seen a full episode of Friends before, so.
Oh man,
you're missing out, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I won't do it.
That's like at home. That's our background program. If there's nothing else on,
right?
Yeah, I mean, there's only 11 seasons you have to catch up on. What's up?
Yeah, geez.
Yeah, 250 episodes or so.
I know. Crazy sitcoms when they used to be, so long, 24 episode seasons and went on for 20 years. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. But that was.
Oh, yes. Wow.
You show me yours, and I'll show you mine. That takes us into...
You have a mail message.
Your letters.
We have the sexiest introductions.
Yeah, Steve, you're really heighten your voice for those. Nice job.
that's after a couple of drinks.
Yeah, that's right. Only a couple.
Our first one is a letter from Adam in Illinois. He just simply says, "I own everything." I don't know. Then we have one here from Chris in Texas, and this is for Emma. And he says, "I leave for a week, and you sink to new lows. What's up with that?"
It's crazy. I haven't heard from him in 5 days. I hope he's okay down there.
Oh, I sent him a DM the other day to say, "Hey, I know you're reading these. Hope you're having fun." He said,
I think I saw on his Instagram today. He went to whatever the Star Wars thing is down there. And he got a picture of the Millennium Falcon. That's cool.
Yeah.
So when he travels, do you think he has to pack shirts, or did you just wear that one?
Yeah.
Just the same plaid shirt.
Love it.
And then our last one here, Meredith from Scranton, a longtime listener, second-time writer. It says, "Jim, I'd love to do the walk of shame from your house." Meredith from Scranton. Now, that's her second time writing in. The last time, I think she was asking, wasn't wearing tank tops anymore. So I think Meredith might have a little crush.
Getting colder, isn't it?
On Jim. So
you have a mail message.
And that's going to take us into our list for this week. Our top 10 death scenes. This is either death scenes, anything that has to do with death in shows.
Really bad acting.
Yeah. Right. So we are going to go ahead and start at number 10 with Emmett.
So I told Jim maybe 2 days ago or yesterday that I didn't rank these, and I still haven't done it. So these are just in the way that I wrote it down. So the first one I had written down is Adriana from The Sopranos. The scene where she had just or her boyfriend Christopher had just found out that she was snitching on him to the FBI, and she's kind of caught in the act, and she's driven out to the woods by Silvio. And you're kind of not sure what's happening, and then until it happens, and she was like in a show that was like the first show of unlikable characters that was built on liking a show, and the biggest show in the world, built around one of the most unlikable characters in Tony Soprano. Like Adriana was the one that you liked and you cheered for, and seeing her killed was both surprising to me, and is still one of my favorite deaths not to watch, but it's like very heart-wrenching to watch. So that's my first one I had written down here.
Okay, so as someone who's never watched The Sopranos, and yeah, spoilers for everyone. Anyway, which you're really good at, by the way.
Yeah.
When in the run does that happen? And is it like early in the season?
So I think there's six seasons, and the sixth season was 2 parts. So I want to say it was season 4 or season 5.
Okay, so you got to know this character really well.
Oh yeah. And she was married to, and her boyfriend is a very like Tony Soprano's nephew, very important character that way. And Christopher Moltisanti is his name that she was married to. Is my favorite TV character of all time. So just that relationship that I had with those two was quite strong, and that's the first one that I thought of when I wrote down. Yeah,
nice.
I really feel like
you haven't seen The Sopranos. It's crazy.
I haven't either.
Neither of you have, eh? Crazy.
No. I never had HBO, so
I didn't either. I got a DVD set around here somewhere. Big huge thing. It's got all the discs in there. Yeah.
Well, but don't you guys get that stuff up there on Crave for free? Like you don't have
to Crave, right? It's not for free. Oh God, it's not free. That's for
but
sure.
It's part of
it's part of the package. Yeah, and I didn't even watch The Sopranos as it was airing either. I caught onto it maybe a couple years after that. Maybe after the season finale, with how big the season finale was. Maybe I just like, maybe I should watch that.
Cool. All right, Jim, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is a duo, Thelma and Louise.
Who?
Thelma and Louise.
Oh, Thelma and Louise. Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that movie, but who can forget them driving a car off a cliff?
Right.
Yep.
It kind of happens, you know, in everyday life too, and that's sad. But in the movies, it's spectacular.
Yeah. Especially the way they did it. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
So my list is a mixture. Some of them are deaths that affected me emotionally. Some are just iconic death scenes. So there's going to be a mixture. But number 10 is a movie I watched shortly after me and my wife were married. It's probably the first and maybe the last movie that I actually bawled my eyes out at. And it was Marley and Me. So,
oh, man.
I can't watch that movie. I cannot watch that movie. We watched it that one time, and I can't watch it again. I don't know why that one is so much worse than other. I'm not good with any animals dying in movies, but that one got me worse than probably any other one ever has. So that's my number 10.
I'm not even an animal person or like a dog person, and that's still hard to watch. Yeah.
That was brutal. So, all right, number 9.
Number 9, I have Oberyn Tyrell from Game of Thrones, Pedro Pascal's character from season 3, season 4, I can't remember. Game of Thrones had shown from the first season that anyone can die, and I still didn't expect Pedro Pascal's character, Oberyn Tyrell, to die when they were building him up to be such, again, a very likable character. And in Game of Thrones fashion, they just as you think he's about to survive, he dies a brutal and horrible, bloody death. So, one of my favorite deaths from that series.
As we go down his list, like you've seen this one, I have not. We're gonna get to where we've seen them all.
I haven't. I've never seen Thelma and Louise. So, I know. I obviously know the death, but I've never seen that movie before. So,
all right.
Yeah,
right,
it's
Jim,
better than also Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 9 is Brooks from The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
And I thank my wife for reminding me of this one. But she thought it was Red, and I was like, no, Red didn't die. But yeah, it was. They did a very good job of making you like cons, I guess, and particularly Brooks. And I don't think there's anybody that didn't root for him to succeed. And it's kind of a sad thing when you can't live a life without.
Well, I mean, you spent years in the military, as did I, and you know that there are people who get out of the military and can't function.
Yes,
without that structure. And
I find structure drives me much better than the freedom of only working 20 hours a week. I get nothing done now. I don't even read the comics if I. So,
yeah. And Brooks, what made that great too is he wasn't a major character, and to make you care that much about a minor character in the story when he dies.
It was the bird. It was him saving the bird.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scene of him when he's out of prison just on the bus and he's like gripping the front seat of him, like it's just, oh my god, you just feel for the guy. Like he's got the old white knuckles and that look on his face. I think he's talking about cars, or maybe it's the scene right after that where he's walking down the street and he almost gets hit by a car. It's like, oh my, this guy is like you said, he's like out of his element. He has no idea about the world and how it runs right now. He's just like, oh, and you can feel it. You're like, oh, you feel where this is going. So yeah.
Well, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty sure, Emmett, that's one of your guys' favorite movies, because if I'm not incorrect, every time you guys compare a movie to, or you do a review of a movie, you're like, well, that's no Shawshank Redemption, but
that's right. Yeah, it's no Shawshank Redemption. It's no Battleship. Those are the two spectrum that we have is Battleship and Shawshank Redemption.
My favorite.
Okay, my number 9 is Coach from Cheers. So this death happens completely off camera. It's in between seasons. He doesn't come back for the start of the next season. And back then you didn't have internet. You didn't know that somebody was leaving the show. You had no idea what was going on in their personal lives, whether they were alive or dead. So you're looking like I might have that wrong, Jim?
No, he died.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I know that.
The actor died.
No, but I'm saying we didn't have the internet to tell us, so I had no clue until probably 3 years later that the actor had actually died that played Coach. So, yeah. Of course, that led to Woody, which was great. But That was pretty tough at the time with Coach.
That's probably the best character introduction. Taking the place of a character that passed away.
That's what I was thinking.
They both worked so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've only seen a little bit of Cheers. Would Cheers have been as good if Coach stayed and Woody didn't come in?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Coach, and when I was young, I probably wouldn't have answered like that because I was used to Woody watching that as it aired. Mm-hmm. But going back and watching more of the stuff with Coach, he was brilliant. He was fantastic.
He was. All I could think of is him standing off camera in the hallway, taking the baseball to the skull, and you hear the thump when it hits his head. He's like, on my way to first base. Nice. All right. What's your number 8, Emmett?
Number 8, I'll do an off-screen death too, and that's Llewellyn Moss from No Country for Old Men. Thank you.
No Man.
Yeah, an Old Country for No Man. That's right. No Country for Old Men. One of the real first. So I have another one on my list. It's another off-screen death, but a very prominent off-screen death where you're still not even sure that he did die. When he meets his, or when you think he's about to meet his demise, it cuts to off-screen and you see Javier Bardem's character come out of the house and he looks underneath his shoes to see if there's blood on his boots. That's the other time. That's the one with his wife. Llewellyn Moss is the one who gets killed by the Mexican drug dealers. Again, you show up at the end of it when Tommy Lee Jones's character arrives at a motel, I think it is. And you followed Llewellyn Moss through the entire movie. And to get an off-screen death was both surprising to me and still kind of rubs me the wrong way, where I feel like, he's the hero of the story and you don't get a hero send-off kind of way. You don't get him standing up for himself, anything like that. But that movie is different all around with how it ends and the story is trying to tell. So that's one of my favorite movies, No Country for Old Men. And yeah, I really like the off-screen death in that one.
I've seen that movie. I don't remember it at all, though.
Okay.
I'm going to have to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Coen Brothers, right?
What's that?
Yep.
That's Coen Brothers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 8 for you, Jim.
If any of our, I don't know how much of our show you've actually watched, Emmett, but if any of our list is on your list, just tell us to shut up and we wait till it's lower.
I'd be surprised if
I would too, because I probably haven't seen anything on your list. Okay, so my number 8 is Casey Baxter, Scream.
Mm-hmm.
Becker, not Baxter, Becker. Just the fact that they killed Drew Barrymore in the first 5 minutes of a horror movie was brilliant, and apparently she fought for that, and it was brilliant. I mean, it was no one was safe after that moment, and while it may not be the scariest horror movie of all time, it's up there as my favorites anyway. So anyway, yeah, I thought that was a brilliant movie.
And made me never want to eat Jiffy Pop.
that made me know what Jiffy Pop was.
Yeah,
it made me pause to go make Jiffy Pop.
I like that. That's like
a different effect on us all.
Yeah, exactly. I like that's the staple of the movie now too. The opening scene. I like that it kind of cemented itself as I know what's happening here. And then with the new one, they kind of flipped it on its head with.
I have not seen the new Scream yet.
Okay.
See, when I think of that movie, I think of the ending with your mom's no Sharon Stone. That's what I think of. But yeah, that death was surprising.
It was. It was good too. Yeah. All right, my number 8 is the psycho shower scene.
Oh, how did I never crossed my mind?
I didn't think of that one either.
I think that was probably one of the first scenes like that in a movie that I can remember. I think it's just iconic. I mean, I think even people, it's kind of like the one you just mentioned with Drew Barrymore. I think even people who haven't seen the movie are familiar with that scene. man, it's just so scary. The music leading up to it. He doesn't kill a whole lot of people in that first Psycho movie, so yeah, it's pretty memorable.
Yeah, it should probably be on everyone's list just for it being as iconic as it is.
Yeah, I like again that you think she's a main character. You're following her from the start, and then that she's gone.
Who was the actress? Because she was a pretty major actress, right, at the time.
I know it's Jamie Lee Curtis's mom. That's what.
Right, that's right.
Jamie Lee Curtis's mom? I did not know that.
Yep.
Cool. Nice. All right, number 7.
Number 7, I have Elsa Dutton from the show from this year, 1883. If you guys are Yellowstone fans, it's the prequel to that show. Again, you follow her in the opening scene of the very first episode. You see her getting shot, and you see her having the thing that's done to her that leads to her death. You see it, and then you spend the whole rest of the entire season forgetting that moment. You forget that moment comes. You forget that she is going to die, and then that last episode is basically her entire death, and what the lead up to where her father is going to bury her. It's my favorite TV show from this year, and it's the prequel to one of my favorite TV shows in Yellowstone. So I have Elsa from 1883.
At first, I was like, that doesn't happen in Frozen, but
Frozen. I know. I had to double check that her name was Elsa. I'm like, just to make sure. Like, I don't want to get this wrong. I just have Frozen in my head. I'm not sure. So yes, I wanted to.
I haven't seen 1883. We've seen the first season of Yellowstone, and I've talked about this before. It's like I told you earlier with comic books, where I need a hero and a villain. Like there's nobody likable in Yellowstone. Like there's nobody I can root. There's nobody I can root for. So it makes me it makes it really hard for me to watch it, because in season 1 there's just nobody that I care. Like they can all die, and I wouldn't mind.
Does it make you feel better knowing that some die? Because you can watch it.
You'd probably like 1883 then, Steve, because like there's a lot of heroes. In that show. So, and I get that. Like Yellowstone, Kevin Costner is John Dutton, the dad of the entire Dutton crew. He's a son of a bitch. So
he is, yeah. All right, number 7 for you, Jim.
Number 7 for me is an iconic death: The Wicked Witch of the West, Wizard of Oz.
Oh, nice,
beautiful.
I mean, who hasn't screamed on melting when they get water thrown on them?
That's right.
That is a big one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then I know you're not a musical guy, Steve, but watching Wicked, I just loved seeing it from a different angle too. So it's just
I haven't seen Wicked. Sherry went and saw Wicked. My wife went and saw Wicked, but she actually saw it in London on the West End, which was pretty fun for her.
If you haven't seen Wicked, and you get a chance to, I recommend it. I don't recommend.
I think they're making the movie of that, aren't they?
Well, they've been saying that for years.
Okay.
I mean, well, honestly, I don't know. I've heard that for years. Let's put it that way. I've tried reading the book. I'm not a big fan of the writing style in the book, but I think I own 2 copies of it, which is weird. I know. I think I got them at a garage sale for like $10.
Did I send you one?
I was going to say this. Steve, you remember that asking?
So, yeah, it's just a great death scene, and
it is
pretty iconic.
Mm-hmm. All right, my number 7 is Spock from Wrath of Khan.
Oh, I had that was going to be my number 11
if you numbered them.
If I numbered them and there was one extra, that probably would be mine for sure.
If I would have thought of that, it would have been on my list.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
The only thing bad about that death was that it led to Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock, and which I did not enjoy at all. But just that scene of him sacrificing himself in that movie, it was pretty impressive.
What did you think of the remake where they reversed the roles?
I liked it.
You like? I enjoyed that. I don't think I saw the original.
Yeah.
Without the con, but
right. Yeah, that was all right. So that's number 7. Number 6.
Number 6, I have Poussey from Orange is the New Black. I remember this show coming out on Netflix when Netflix was like the only thing going. when there was no, Amazon Prime and there was no Peacock and all that kind of stuff. And I was pretty invested in Orange is the New Black. And I think this happened in the last season or maybe the second to last season, where the show was kind of faltering a little bit. And they got this character, Poussey, and I can't remember her friend's name. I can't remember what her name is. Anyways, the scene of her dying, where the entirety of her friends are calling out for I think it was a guard who had his knee on the back of her neck or something, or on her back, and she couldn't breathe. Obviously the big thing in the times was happening, or the big thing of the times was the I can't breathe stuff that was happening in the States at the time. And that kind of related back to this. And it's just something about when a show was faltering for me and I wasn't interested in it very much. I'm like, oh man, I could drop this right now and I wouldn't go back to it. And there's something about this death scene, and it carried on for I'm pretty sure there was one season after this. And that's how they ended it. And they kept the storyline going, and it kept me interested in the show. A character's death had me interested in the storylines that they were continuing to tell. So Poussey from Orange is the New Black. That's my one.
That's interesting. Funny, when a show falters, there's either going to be a new kid or...
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Introduce a new character or kill one off. That's 100% right.
Well, it's like the same when a marriage falters, right?
Oh, wait, what?
Either, hey, let's have a baby, or the guy finds himself another character to play with.
Yes, he doesn't kill his wife. He goes and finds something else.
I'm not talking about killing anybody. Can we scrub that? You need to get that out, just in case.
This is not going to look good to you in the future if something happens. Your fault or not. Yeah.
That's funny. So we have totally different viewing habits here. I mean, I'm coming to realize that we probably don't watch.
So I tried watching Orange is the New Black as well. I didn't make it very far into it.
Yeah.
I can't remember. What year did that come out?
Like I said, it seemed like it was forever ago when Netflix was the only thing that was on, right?
Well, that's in the prison break universe, right?
Yes.
As we came up with last week.
Yes.
All the prison shows are in one: Shawshank and 24, or not 24, Prison Break and Orange is the New Black and Oz. They're all in the same.
Yeah.
I like Oz being in any universe. I think that ruins any show.
I'm with you.
All right,
my number 6.
Your number 6.
Juliet from Lost.
So that's my number 4.
So it's funny. We'll wait to talk about her death when we get to you.
No, you go ahead.
Mine went from Libby to I was going to piss everyone off and say Paulo and Nikki, because I love their deaths in that show.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, it don't do nothing for the story, but I love that. I do like that episode quite a bit. My wife about fell out off the couch when the ending was revealed of that episode. So that I really enjoyed that. And then I was like, well, no, my favorite character in that whole series is Juliet, because she made me like Sawyer,
right? Which
was almost impossible. And so. Okay, we'll talk about that more when we get to your.
Oh, that's nice. No, it's funny you mention her, with her being my number 4 for sure. Emma, just Lost for me. If it wasn't for the Lost TV show, I wouldn't be here doing this show right now, because I was searching for shows to watch about Lost, and I typed in Lost in Google, and it came up with Lost in Comics. So I watched Lost in Comics thinking it was about Lost and comics, and I was like, oh, this will be cool. So
that would be cool, yeah.
So here we are. Of course, nobody in there had ever seen Lost, but my wife and I rewatch Lost every year. So it's my favorite show of all time. I love it, love it, love it. I just can't get enough of it.
But I didn't know how much I liked it until I watched it again. So
I had a theory when that would have made the Paolo and Nikki episode better. I think I've told you this, Jim.
You have.
So they got bit by the spiders that paralyzed them, and they got buried. Well, my theory was when we saw Locke in the coffin that they had used that spider venom on him to make people think he was dead at the time. And that would have made that whole Nikki and Paolo episode actually mean something. I was hoping that's the direction they were going with it, but they never did. But anyway, I digress.
I remember, so I started watching Lost after Emmett was doing his rewatch, and he was tweeting about it. So I would have to avoid Emmett's picture on my tablet or computer at all costs because I knew about Libby before it happened, sadly. But I didn't know how. So it worked out well.
All right, so my number 6 is Charlie from Lost.
Beautiful.
He almost made mine.
Yeah. Just a great death. And I know that he should have been able to swim out that portal in the room and swim up to the surface, but I think he knew that he had to die for things to go how they did. So him exiting that.
Well, Desmond knew anyway.
That's Charlie leaving that submarine. Yeah. He knew the death had to happen and that it was going to happen anyway. So that was the best way for it to happen. But Charlie wasn't a character I really liked at all because he was such a child, the whole, with his addiction and then the whole baby thing, which made me hate Claire to death. My baby, my baby, my baby. Shut up. But okay, so Charlie. So Charlie is my number 6, but I ended up liking him a lot. Well, Hurley made me like every character that I disliked a whole lot better. Any character that was around Hurley made me like that character better. So Charlie was my number 6.
Charlie was kind of stunning too, because at the time he was the only, just coming off of Lord of the Rings, he was the only actor I actually knew.
Right.
So
you didn't watch Party of Five with what's his name?
No. Did somebody die that's on your list?
No, yeah, Party of Five.
So that takes us into
high five.
Top 5.
That was loud.
Was it loud? Yeah, sorry.
It was surprising.
I've got Dick Halloran from The Shining.
Nice.
Surprising death. He's just walking in the hotel, and you have no idea where Jack Nicholson's character is in relation to Dick Halloran. And you're like, oh, he's coming to save Danny. Oh, yay. And then straight up, he just gets an axe right in the chest, and that's the end of him quickly. We don't see Dick too much in that movie, just very briefly in the hotel where he shines with Danny, and then he's sitting in a hotel room with his naked black girl picture behind him, and then he hears Danny, and then he goes to the up to the hotel to die. So I just like the shock factor of it. Just very quickly, boom, he's dead, and that's the end of him. So I just like that for some reason. And the Shining is just one of my favorite horror movies. So
it's my top horror movie.
I'm keeping a list of how many of Emmett's deaths I've seen.
You seen that one, right?
I have not watched The Shining.
Oh, you haven't seen The Shining?
Nope.
You've not seen The Shining is like Chris not seeing E.T. And Chris has seen E.T. now, so
yeah, there's no excuse now.
Except for I'm not the biggest horror guy.
But it's not really horror. It's a little bit horror. I don't know. Yeah.
It's your favorite horror movie of all time.
Which tells you it's not very horror if it's my favorite.
Okay.
Do you like the book? Do you like the book too, Steve?
I do like the book, yeah.
Do you like
now my wife is the Stephen King fan, but she's got a whole collection of stuff. But the book is great too.
I was surprised about so many differences. I just read it probably in the last 3 years or so. Just the differences are pretty striking between the movie and the book.
Yeah, there's quite a few for sure. Yeah. Yep. I mean, the movie, I think without Jack, I don't know if it works. I really don't, because he was just so.
So which one should I do first? Read the book or watch the movie?
I'd watch the movie.
Yeah. All right. What you got for your number 5, Jim?
My number 5 is Optimus Prime from the Transformers movie. And for Chris,
Yeah, it's a rollout.
It's the first major death of my childhood of a character I loved. So that movie comes out, you kill the main character and make thousands of kids cry and hate the franchise. Promote some guy named Hot Rod. I don't know what that was all about. But no, it's stuck with me. I mean, it really didn't hurt me all that bad, but I was shocked. And I just recently bought the movie again and watched it, and I was like, Yeah, boy, they were like, hey, 9-year-old boy, let's see your hero die. So yeah, Optimus Prime has to make my list.
Nice, good choice. My number 5, I'm sure, is higher up on your list, Jim. Henry Blake.
Yes, yeah, that's my number 1.
Another off-camera death, Henry Blake from MASH. It was what season? Between 3 and or into season 3, 2 or 3, maybe 4.
I don't remember.
Yeah, whatever it was. I think Potter came in season 5. So, yeah, just I mean, he goes through being in the war for as long as he was in Korea, and then ends up dying on a plane crash on a
helicopter
crash on the way.
Not just that, the fact that they're all performing surgery at the end when Radar announces he dies in a plane crash, that none of the actors knew that was happening. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, no one knew that until it was filmed.
Huh.
So yeah, it's just a brilliant. I hate saying brilliant when it comes to characters dying or anything like that, but it was very well done and probably the most shocking death on TV for me.
Yeah, I think Radar's delivery of it was what made it that much.
It was just fantastic.
Tougher, yeah.
You ever seen this, Emmett?
Never seen MASH before. No.
You should keep score, Chief.
Yeah, we have very different lists.
Yes, we do. But
yeah, it's good. Okay. That's good.
That's why we do this.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
All right, that takes us to number 4.
Number 4, I have Donnie from The Big Lebowski. Steve Buscemi's character dies straight up from a heart attack. With it's more the funeral scene that I love with the dude and Walter, but just little old Donnie, being out of his element the whole movie. He's rolling. For the whole movie, he's rolling great bowling, a game of bowling, and then the night that he dies, he doesn't get a strike, and they go out to the parking lot to fight the nihilists, the Nazis, and he dies from a heart attack. It's one of my favorite movies, The Big Lebowski, funniest movie I've seen. It's just kind of a weird little death in that movie that kind of doesn't make any sense, and there's no reason for it. But that funeral scene also adds a lot to the death scene. So
okay, so that fight scene is my favorite scene in The Big Lebowski.
Nice,
and it's because of the dude. Take the $4.
That's right. Take the money, man.
Yeah, all I have to do is think about that, and I generally will bust out laughing. It's just that's the funniest scene in that entire movie. So
it's a movie of quotable lines.
It is very quotable.
I just love it so much.
Cool. All right, number 4, Jim.
Okay, my number 4 is so I brought props and a shirt. Ted Kord.
Nice.
I was prepared.
Where does he die?
Yeah, Ted Kord, Blue Beetle, Countdown to Infinite Crisis. And probably not so much about his death, just how it affected Booster Gold and the stories going forward with him. Jeff Johns' whole run of whatever it's called. Yeah, Jeff Johns' run of Booster Gold is fantastic.
I didn't even think about doing comic book deaths.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Superman would be on someone's tonight, but
I tried to think of some for comic, and I couldn't think of any that really shocked me or anything like that.
Well, I think the hard thing for me with comics is that they always come back.
Yeah, and so does Ted Kord.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, of course.
Martha doesn't though.
52 pickup. There you go.
And Uncle Ben never comes back either. Uncle Ben never comes back. All right. So my number 4.
Don't ruin my list.
Uh-oh.
Number
4 is Juliet. Well, we already talked about that.
No, actually, we didn't talk about her death.
Yeah,
we talked about everybody else's death.
Oh. I mean, just the camera angle when Sawyer is sitting there holding her hand, it's almost a little funny because it's almost like the "I'll never let go" scene from Titanic, but right before she lets go. So she falls. She somehow survives that fall all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Able to reach over still and move without probably a broken back, I would assume, and hit the explosion, which starts off the final season, which takes us to LAX episode, and where you don't know what's going on. But yeah,
if I remember correctly, she slips out of his hand at the end of season 5.
Oh, you're right.
Right?
I missed it.
But then they
LAX is season 6.
In 6.
Yeah.
So, because I believe me and my wife both were like, we have to watch her die again because she was my favorite character, and we were gutted that it happened, and then they have to show it again.
Right.
So that's what was so impactful for us. It's like, it didn't just hit me once; it hit me twice.
Well, because you were watching them back to back too, so it's not like you had a whole season break in between, so where you needed a refresher.
Yeah. Felt like I was.
I like the scene with them at the vending machine afterwards too.
Oh yeah.
When they're all dead, and it just like it's fun that sometimes the scene afterwards or after the death just makes the death that much more impactful. I like that vending machine a lot.
Yeah, that's great. All right, number 3.
Number 3, I have Dave Boyle from Mystic River. Tim Robbins' character. He's a character that was killed for doing something that he didn't do, but the entirety of his character is not being able to express himself, and you feel for this character because of the horrible things that have happened to him. And also the decisions that were made after his death about what was to happen to his killer. And Tim Robbins plays Dave Boyle, but then his best friend is played by Sean Penn, and his other best friend is played by Kevin Bacon. And they're all at 3 different walks of life, and seeing how they all, what path they took after a very impactful moment in their young lives, and then how it ultimately ended for one of them, being Dave Boyle, Tim Robbins' character. It's a very hard scene to watch. It's a hard movie to watch if you haven't seen Mystic River. There's a lot of tough scenes in that movie, but the death scene of Dave Boyle is one that stands out for me.
I have not seen this, and I have had the opportunity a couple times, and I just never. It seems like a little heavy for me, and I don't know.
Very heavy.
Yeah. Yep. So, don't ask me what put. What's the movie with Kevin Bacon and
Footloose? Tremors.
Oh, good. Keep going. You're close. They're kids. They steal the hot dog stand, and it goes down the stairs. And...
Oh yeah, it's got Robert De Niro in it. Sleepers.
Yeah. Oh, it is
hard one. That's a tough one.
So you're talking about that movie, and the whole time I'm thinking, like, that poor person that got hit by that hot dog stand. Did they die? They should be on my list.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The guy at the bottom of the stairs at the train station or whatever. Yeah. He's dead.
Pedestrian number 3. He's number 4.
That's right.
Nice.
Okay. Let's see. Number 3 for me, John Doe, 7.
Oh. Ooh.
It's probably my favorite evil plot that works in movies ever. And he was committed, so he went through with it. And so even the what's in the box stuff, that stuff don't affect me as much as the plan working and going through what he wanted to go through. I thought it was brilliant. Still can watch that movie almost at any time. It's a great movie.
So you used the term brilliant twice tonight, Jim. We're going to have to talk after
when
the
you're
show.
just dumb, you try to say it as often as you can.
Oh man, I do that. When I have to re-listen to podcasts that I record and I have to edit them, like, oh man, I said that word a lot. I need better words. It's so hard to be descriptive of things.
It's so smart.
It's so smart.
I love his eyes closing as he's just about to get shot.
Yes,
he closes his eyes where he's just like, "Yes, I've done it."
Yeah, great scene.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my number 3 is Gus Fring from Breaking Bad.
Nice.
So I mean, just not that I cared about the character, but I cared about him a little more after watching Better Call Saul.
Oh, yeah.
But being in the room when the explosion comes off and coming around and turning towards the camera and half his face is gone. And, it's just beautiful.
Yes,
not brilliant, but beautiful. It's a great scene.
It's a great.
I like it. It's a good one. That's like the most unrealistic one that we might have heard so far too. Like he's literally missing half his face. He would have died instantly. But like the dramatic effect to that scene and the makeup and everything, outstanding.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2.
I have Joel from Last of Us Part 2. My favorite video game of all time. With we were seeing a lot with movie trailers where they try and sell us something. The trailers for this game sold us that this was going to be just like Part 1, where it's Joel and Ellie going to complete a mission of some kind. And by killing Joel within the first half hour of the game, I think maybe 45 minutes of the game, was it a complete slap to the face. I'm like, oh, this game is completely different from what I was expecting. And again, it's about the scenes afterwards. I think there's 3 scenes set in the past between Joel and the main character Ellie that build up the relationship more to make us feel more of the death. Again, we mentioned about how scenes are hard to watch. This is a hard one to watch and experience in a game of entirety of hard to do and hard to watch things. So Joel from Last of Us Part 2.
Nice.
I need to play that game. I haven't even seen that.
Well, you should play. Have you played the first one?
No, I haven't played. I'm not much of a gamer. I play sports.
Are you gonna check out the show when it comes next year?
Well, depends on what it's on.
HBO.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll check it out. Okay, my number 2 is Ben Parker.
Oh, it was okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Jim.
I don't lie about stuff like this.
I don't lie.
Just because it's iconic, and
it is. I mean, it gives us Spider-Man, right?
So I didn't know the story of Spider-Man until I watched the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. So when that happened, I was with a buddy. And I was like, "So that happened in the comics?" He's like, "Yeah." Oh, okay. So it hit me hard in the theater, and I thought, well, that's just the whole with great power comes great responsibility is just a brilliant, some might say, message. So, and coming from him, he's got to be on my list. So maybe I have him too high on my list. I'll change it tomorrow.
It's your list.
Yeah, but I'm going to change it tomorrow.
That could have easily, I think, been on my list. I mean, it gave me it was the origin of my favorite character of all time. So, and unlike all other superheroes, it kind of is the only kind of lost daddy issue type thing that, no other superheroes have that problem. That's a joke. I'm sorry, Jim.
Yeah, I didn't believe you for a second. I thought you.
That's pretty much every superhero, right?
Do you guys have a favorite like Ben Parker death, like whether it's the movies or in a comic book, like the favorite iteration of the death?
Mine has to be the movie since I don't know any other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, because I mean, I went back and I read started at Spider-Man or Amazing Fantasy 15 on Marvel Unlimited and was reading through, and it's so brief. In the book, in the original book, it's mentioned, but they don't really go into it. They may later on. I was going to read all the way through, and I stopped at like issue 30 or something because 1960s comics are so wordy. It's so hard. But I would agree. It's the Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie for me. What about you?
Yeah, it would have to be the Tobey movies. I'm not even the biggest fan of the Tobey movies, but I haven't. The only Spider-Man comics I read were the new Nick Spencer ones, and then the stuff that's going on right now. So
cool. All right, my number 2 is Nana from Friends. So she doesn't only die once; she dies twice in the same episode. So they get called to the hospital, of course, because Nana's passed away, and they're in there saying their goodbyes to her, and she twitches and wakes up. Well, she doesn't wake up, but she moves, and they run out of the room, and then the doctor goes in there, and she finally actually passes away.
It's a pretty brilliant scene.
Who's Nana? Who's Nana?
Ross and Monica's
okay.
grandmother.
Oh dear.
So, Althea?
Yeah. Huh?
You had a name.
Yeah, it's Althea.
Okay.
That's during the quiz episode.
Yeah.
When they lose the apartment. Yes. So Nana is my number 2 because it's just hilarious.
Yeah.
It's a funny death scene.
That does sound fun.
Yeah, Ross makes that episode too. His double check at her moving.
Yeah. Nurse is like, that happens sometimes. All right, so that takes us to number 1, and hold on just a second here. I'm right on the ball here. I gotta do it, otherwise it's not official. Where are we at? Okay, now you can
go. Okay, so this is actually my number 1. This was, if I had to rank one, this is the one that I would rank, and it's a description of somebody dying, and that would be Chris from Stand By Me. The ending to Stand By Me is the saddest thing that I can ever think of. It's about losing your friends and losing who you were when you were innocent and you were a kid. And Chris, the stand-up guy, is a terrible life as he had. He did something with his life, and he tried to stick up for somebody, and it ultimately led to his death. But it's just that whole ending scene where he's describing what happened to his friend, and Chris, and I can't think about that movie and not feel bad. And it's such a good feeling to feel this type of bad. I don't know why that is, but just that innocence of being a kid and losing who you were as a kid, and eventually Chris lost everything because of who he was. So it's Chris from Stand By Me.
That's good. And I finally seen one of the movies that you mentioned. So that's awesome.
There you go.
Very good. Very good. All right, Jim.
You've already done my number 1, Henry Blake, MASH.
Okay.
So you ruined my top 2, by the way.
My bad. You can talk about Henry Blake more if you want.
I haven't actually watched the episode in quite a while, so I don't have a lot to say about it, other than the actors didn't know what was happening.
That had to be an Alan Alda directed one, right? I would think.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Then he would have known about it. So
that's true. That's true.
I'm gonna have to look up and see if that's actually true.
Right.
I like
it. Probably is. It probably is. Well, that's what wasn't Chris telling us last week? That's what they did with one of the kids' movies he watched, where they didn't to make him more scared. I don't know. I'm so bad. They didn't tell the kids that it was actually going to happen. Whatever.
Yeah, the jump scares in Monster Squad.
That's what it was, Monster Squad. Yeah. So my top death scene, my number 1, it was a death I just did not see coming, and that's Passion of the Christ. No, I'm kidding.
That's good stuff.
Mine is Abraham and Glenn, Walking Dead.
Ooh. I was thinking about a Walking Dead one, yeah.
So I could have done a few Walking Dead ones, and I just decided to stick to one. And it was this one because, in the comic book, Glenn gets killed by Negan, and it's very similar to the way it happens in the series. But Abraham's not part of that lineup. And the whole scene, you talk about episodes that are hard to watch. My wife is rewatching Walking Dead right now, and she's past that season now, but I couldn't watch that episode again. Just too brutal. But the first time, not only the graphics of it, like Glenn's eyeball popping out, Abraham taking a bat to the head and then trying to talk and kind of muttering and stumbling a little bit before he takes another bat to the head. Just because those characters were characters that I actually cared about as characters. That's my top. And the crazy thing is that The Walking Dead somehow made me like Negan, like 3 years later. So after he did all that stuff.
What'd you think about how they left the season before the season before they died, with the not knowing who died?
When they were all just lined up?
And
Negan's
doing his thing.
I bet the actors didn't know that he was just going to hit someone on the head and choose.
Well, they didn't. The actors didn't know at the time. I think Glenn, the actor that plays Glenn, knew, but I don't think they knew until. Well, actually, they must have known because they filmed it all that night. Because that was like 2 days of filming with them in the lineup and sitting there. And if you watch the interviews they did with that scene, I mean, they had a hard time filming that scene because they were on their knees like that for hours while that was being filmed out in the cold and stuff, and just brutal. But yeah, that death scene is it's up there for like you said. If I could switch the other 9 around and probably add a couple others in there, but that's my number one. Abraham and Glenn from The Walking Dead.
Show with a lot of deaths, that's for sure.
Yes, it is. Are you still watching it or?
No, and I feel like I need to. This is the last season, and like everything's been off from this too. There's just gonna be so much more, and I don't even know where I left off. Right. I think the last thing I remember is Alpha, and Negan killing Alpha and cutting her head off. I think is what he does. I can't remember. I think that's the last thing I remember.
So you haven't missed that much. That's 2 seasons.
Is that 2 seasons behind?
Well, season 11's been like 3 parts, so it might only be technically 1 season, but it's like 20-something episodes for season 11 or 18 episodes. But we're down to the final 3 now.
Crazy.
It's been really good. So
yeah, biggest show in the world, basically.
Yeah.
For its entirety of it airing on TV.
Right. So any honorable mentions?
I have the kid that brings a briefcase back in Untouchables. Mister, you forgot your briefcase. Which led to my theory of if you kill a kid in the first 20 minutes of a movie, it's going to be fantastic. I mean, it's terrible. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but let's see, I wrote that one down.
I would have honorable mention for me. I had 2 from Game of Thrones. The first is Ned Stark. I mean, you should have known because of the guy who plays him, dies and everything. Sean Bean. So, but still, I still didn't think it was going to happen. And then Joffrey's death as well, the way it happened, is on that list.
At least I know those characters.
Hey, good for you. Yeah.
Well, I've actually seen the first season of Game of Thrones.
Is that all you've seen? Just the first season?
That's so.
Now I could also add in. I can't think. I don't know the kid's name, but the final. Well, I don't want to put spoilers out there. Final episode.
Macaulay Culkin from My Girl.
You know what I'm saying, though, right, Emmett?
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So Macaulay Culkin's character in My Girl. Probably the hardest.
That's almost. I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah, that was one of the hardest.
That's like Marley and Me level almost.
He's not wearing his glasses.
Damn bees.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. If it would have been a more likable actor, it probably would have been.
At that point, he was. Yeah, man, you're anti-kid.
No, that was. Who was talking about being? That was Emmett talking about being anti-kid.
Yeah. Chris and I were talking about being anti-kid. Yeah. Anti-kid on TV or movie screen. Yeah.
So, any for you? You mentioned what you would have had at number 11 there, Emmett. But any other?
So Spock was one. I had Omar from The Wire. On there, one of the big character from the show, and the other one I had was Daniel Craig's James Bond from No Time to Die. Kind of the big final send off to Daniel Craig being James Bond. So yeah,
I have not seen that. I did not know he died in that. Of course, I don't watch a lot of Bond movies either.
No.
Yeah, for a guy that's doing a show with top 10 list, I don't watch a lot of stuff.
No, there's so much stuff like I said, you've seen things that I haven't seen, and vice versa. That's just the way it goes. You can't watch everything.
No, we just started doing James Bond, and we watched. I'd probably seen them all over the past 30 years or so, but never like in a row and any sort of order. So we finished Dr. No, which is just great.
Yeah.
And it just gets better. But, well, minus a couple that are in there. I don't know.
It's interesting to watch those ones in a row. Like you said, it's
Yeah.
interesting to see the progression of the character and the degression of the character in some senses.
Yeah.
Well, at one point, there's got to be a huge technology jump in the his weapons and stuff like that. I'm kind of curious where that would happen.
Well, the Roger Moore ones are pretty funky. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I think the biggest jump was probably with Pierce Brosnan, as far as I think everybody else, they were able to keep it pretty standard. And then I think once Pierce Brosnan took over, there was a big jump. So that's the thing with Doctor Who. There's really no technology jumps. It's the same from the 1960s to where it is now. They just modernized the way it looks a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of new technology in it.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's why the shows worked for so long. Don't change it.
Yeah, but that is all I have for my picks. I mean, I could add more lost picks too. Ben's daughter getting shot in the head by Keamy, and the way he looks at her.
Yeah, every character death in Lost is the big important one.
Rita Bennett from Morgan. She played Morgan Dexter. Why do I have Morgan down there? Anyway, from Dexter, his wife. Dan Connor, Roseanne.
Oh yeah.
Ben Sullivan from Scrubs, which I've never watched that episode. So this was just a list I was going through online, finding people that died. So I think I had told Emmett that I almost put Earl from the Dixie Chicks song on here.
You told me that. Yeah, you told me that too.
Well, I told you both that. Yeah,
I've never heard that song, so
I thought it was funny. But,
that would have been interesting, just to hear you explain why.
Well, because he had to die.
Well, I get it.
And then the wife in the Disney Pixar movie Up, Ellie is her name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about I can't even think of her name now. The wife in Better Call Saul.
Or the wife in Better Call Saul?
The wife.
His girlfriend, I'm sorry. Saul's girlfriend.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Damn it.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen season 6. I just saw.
So it's funny. We're doing the show, and the only franchise I don't want to be spoiled on is Harry Potter, because I haven't read or watched the movies. Because I want to watch them with my boys, so I'm putting them on.
Good thing I didn't put one of their deaths in there. Then.
I know, and now I know who. I generally have an idea. It's hard to avoid some stuff, So I
can't believe they killed Hermione. I just can't believe it.
Yeah, or Harry. So we're doing this list, and every time I'm like, oh, got through another one without knowing. I want to read them with the boys. I want to read them as they get older. So
I think they'll really.
I have read the first book. So.
Yeah, you guys should. Don't do a Harry Potter top 10.
Yeah. Well, I'd be useless.
Top 10 spoilers. That's our next list, Jim. Top 10 spoilers you don't want to hear.
Yeah, that would be really fun. Just to torment Jim for an hour and a half.
That's it. We got to do
it. Nice. All right. Well, anybody have anything else they want to talk about? Okay. Thanks so much, Emmett, for being here. We're going to wrap things up here.
Thanks for asking me. To be honest, I like talking about things that I don't normally talk about, and I like talking about things that I don't know anything about also.
I'm sure it's nice too to be on a show where you don't have to prepare for it.
I didn't prepare. I did my list, and I didn't rank them, and I didn't have anything for show and tell. So thank you for that.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Absolutely. Anybody still watching at this point, make sure you do check out Gathering of the Geeks every Sunday night. They are live.
Except for this Sunday.
Except for this Sunday because, somebody's on vacation. Finally. Great show.
Actually, this will air next Wednesday, and they will be here next Sunday.
That's right. He'll be back. Yeah, that's right. So check it out. If you haven't checked out the Elves, Hobbits, and Potatoes, which is their review of Rings of Power, definitely go check it out. Some good insight. They actually remember some names. They probably write them down, but they remember some too. So I know like 3 names from that show, and they were all in Lord of the Rings. So that's why I remember. That's right. And then also Lost in Comics. We just did Chris just did a live show Thursday night. So go ahead and check that out. If you didn't see it live, check it out on the replay. And we got some more stuff coming for you in the upcoming weeks.
Let's see. Next week, we're going to have DC Patrol.
Nice. 2 Canadians in a row.
I know. Yeah. I said this when me and him were testing his equipment out. Not as dirty as it sounds. And I said, man, you're going to be the second Canadian we have on here. I'm going to forget how to spell stuff.
So what was our list next week?
Top 10 sci-fi movies.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm sorry, you cut out just for a second. Top 10 what?
Sci-fi movies.
Sci-fi movies, that's right. Top 10 sci-fi
I put it
movies.
in a DM and sent it to you. I don't understand.
That was a long time ago. How many times did I send you a message, what are we doing this week? At least 3 or 4. Maybe that was last week I sent that. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so that wraps things up for episode 9 of Midlife Vices. Thanks everybody for watching, and join us next time when we talk with DC Patrol. See you later.